Greetings, fans. Are you ready for some sports talk? We are the Sports Kings from Queens. I'm Gino. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Kevin and Darren. Today's Wednesday, February 5th. This is episode 153. We got a full show tonight. Catch us wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube. We're running clips. Give us a look. Join our pages. We'd love to hear from you. Send us some comments, questions. We'll be sure to get back to you. Tonight, we're previewing Super Bowl 59. We got some Super Bowl bets to talk about. We got NBA trade craziness. The madness is crazy right now with the NBA. We got MLB, NCAA basketball news, and we're going to discuss the NHL as it approaches its All-Star break, which this year is called the Four Nation Face-Off. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get it started. So, Super Bowl 59 set to take place this Sunday. Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, marking the 11th time the city has hosted the game. This year's matchup is Kansas City, favored by 3, trying for their third Super Bowl in a row against the Philadelphia Eagles. Game is loaded with NFL stars, head coaches, Andy Reid. We got Mahomes, Kelsey, we got Jones, we got Bolton on the Chiefs. The Eagles, of course, have Sirianni. They got Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Darius Slay, Lane Johnson. Star-studded teams going into this Super Bowl. Kansas City opened as a 1.5-point favorite. It has stayed that way. It has not moved. Guys, let's talk about Super Bowl.
All right. Listen, when I look at this game, first and foremost, I say it every year, the 2-week lapse, there's no juice, where there hasn't been a lot of chatter and a lot of talk about this. Multiple reasons, right? Number one is nobody likes Philly. Number two is nobody likes Kansas City. Everybody's tired of Kansas City. Everybody thinks they get every call. Nobody likes Philly because unless you live in Philly, there's no reason to like Philly. So it's one of those type of things where there's not a popular team or an upstart team that you're excited about. Listen, you might like Saquon Barkley. You might like Patrick Mahomes. But for the most part, you might, be a little fatigued with these two teams. But this is a simple one for me. This game comes down to who's going to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. I know it sounds like a cliche, but can the Chiefs, protect Mahomes with the tackles being the big issue? Can, the Chiefs defensive line do anything against that great offensive line from Philly? And then, I think that's going to determine where it is. It's going to come down to the trenches, which doesn't always happen in these games, especially the way the offenses have gone lately. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I don't see other reasons, other ways that this game gets decided, but rather than who controls the line of scrimmage. And I think it's that simple in this one. Kev, thoughts?
I think you're exactly right. I mean, you take a look, the Chiefs, by stats this year has had a really good run defense. But they haven't played anybody the caliber of this Eagles offensive line. And then you throw in the way that Barkley's running behind it and finding the holes and just dominating this year. It's going to be a real tough challenge. Spags is going to have to probably, I think, he might try to play his normal defense, I think, the first drive or so, just to get a sense of how the game's going. I wouldn't be surprised if early in the game, if Barkley starts to break off a couple of, those 5, 6, 7-yard runs. I don't expect Barkley to break one off for 50 this game. I think the Chiefs' safeties are too good and too disciplined to break something off that long. But I wonder if they need to slow him down by doing some run blitzing.
It's not a bad idea.
And challenge Hurts to beat you. And, let's face it, Hurts has not looked sharp throwing the ball around in the playoffs here.
No, he is not.
Well, that brings me to the next point then. Hurts was the best player on the field 2 years ago when these two teams met in the Super Bowl. Outside of that fumble where he tried to make a play when he was getting sacked, kept running backwards, lost the ball. And, I think it was 32 that picked it up, the linebacker for the Chiefs, Bolton, that took it for the distance and got the Chiefs back in it. Can Hurts, after this little bit of a break, do you think he's got a chance of refining that groove, or do you think that he just doesn't have the accuracy right now?
He's not playing well enough to really. I don't think he's gonna find the groove. Okay. I really don't. Just something about the way he's playing. You don't know how much that leg is bothering him that he hurt a couple weeks ago there. I don't know if the 2 weeks off is gonna be enough to really do anything for him. Like I said, Spagnuolo's going to come up with game plans to deal with this offense, especially shut down the passing attack and hope to contain Barkley enough.
Gotcha.
Listen, I agree with you both. I think that's the key to what's happening out there. And I think you're right, Kev. I think in the beginning of this game, you may see Barkley rip a couple. Not again, I don't think he's ripping a 50, but you could see him ripping a couple because Spags is trying to play around with the defense to see what he wants to do with it as this game goes on. You know, they're probably going to have a spy watching Hurts for at least the beginning part of this game, right? Yep. You're going to be playing these receivers tight. You know, the one guy I think who could have a big game for Philly is Goddard. Goddard's the guy I think could have an impact in this game because between Brown and Smith on the sides, the little soft piece of this Kansas City defense is that middle ground. You can get away with some passes in the middle of that field. That could be Goddard. You know, I do think Barkley has a good game in here, but you know, from my perspective, I'll tell you. And this really sounds like we're just repeating the same things we've been saying every week. But at the end of the day, I can't see Kansas City. I can't see Mahomes and Kansas City not winning this game. To me, there's only one way they're not winning this game, and this is where it is. If Philly is up like 17 points at the half, but if you tell me that they're up 17 going to third quarter, I think Mahomes and Kansas City has a tough road. But if this game is within 10, 12, 14 points, I don't see how the hell Kansas City doesn't wind up winning this game. The over-under is 48.5. Do you guys think this is over or under?
Well, I think this goes over a little bit.
I'm sorry,
Kev. Go ahead.
I have it as a little bit of an over. I think this gets to 28-24, 27-24, that type of score.
Darren?
I have it like 20. I have it like 24-20, 26-20, somewhere in that range. So
I have it in the 30s. So I think we're all in the over category right now.
No, Darren's under.
I'm the only one under. I'm at 46. I'm 44, 46, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
The other question I'm going to ask at the beginning of the year, you guys remember I said this statement that really didn't come true at all. I said this could be the most talented Chiefs offense that we've seen. And obviously it hasn't been. But they are getting healthy and they are getting stronger as it goes. How do you think the Chiefs attack the Eagle defense? I mean, I think that zone defense that the Eagles will play is going to leave Kelsey and Gray as guys that might become tough matchups for them.
Well, listen, with the exception of Rashee Rice, this is the healthiest that offense is. Marquise Brown is back. Worthy is playing a bigger role. You got Pacheco back. You got, P. Ryan is still over there. Hunt is playing well. You got still Kelsey in the list of other tight ends on this Kansas City team that always seem to catch one pass in one of these games, right?
And DeAndre Hopkins, who's a star, who doesn't even get mentioned because that's how far he's fallen off on this little thing. And Juju Smith-Schuster as well.
Yeah, I mean, Hopkins is wide receiver 4 at this point.
Yeah.
It is crazy, right? I mean, I think that the Chiefs can move the ball on Philly, though. I think that Philly's defense, though, I mean, Jalen Watson's a beast, and that's going to be the issue up front. If they're going to double team him, and if they're able to control him, the loss of Nakobe Dean, I think, is a problem for Philly.
Yeah, exactly right. A couple of other things, one of those freaky type of things. Vic Fangio's defenses are 0-8 against Mahomes.
Absolutely.
In their career. And, Andy Reid on 2 weeks prep time.
Yeah, I had those points as well. That was my next point. So Mahomes 8-0 against Fangio, Reid off a bye, Spags with the ability to have 2 weeks to prep a defense against an incredible offense. Yep. There's a lot of things to say. So why don't we just get right to it, Gino? Who wins this game? I know you said the Chiefs, but tell me why.
I think at the end of the day, this is close. I think this is high scoring but close. At the end of the day, I think it's Mahomes driving down for a touchdown or getting them in play for a field goal. I got Kansas City 36-30.
Okay.
Wow, that is high scoring.
Yep.
Kev, where you going?
I've got the over as well, like we said before. Again, I think this is close. I think if any team's gonna go up by double digits, I think it's gonna be the Chiefs. I think they're gonna do enough to slow down Philly enough. I can see Philly maybe getting that late touchdown to pull within one score. But I've got the Chiefs winning 28-24. And I think it's because of the 2 weeks. I trust Reed and Spagnuolo more than I do Sirianni and Fangio to come up with a better game plan to take care of the other team.
Hard to imagine, but we're all on the same page, Darren.
Hey, I'm picking the Chiefs. I'm a Chief. I root for the Chiefs. I mean, I have a 24-20 Chiefs. I think that this game is I'm not going to say sloppy early, but I think that teams will have a little trouble getting their rhythm offensively. And then once they do, then there'll be some adjustments. So I think it'll be a little bit sluggish and a little bit sloppy. So I'm going to go 24-20.
Oh, 24-20.
Yes, I didn't do 36. I didn't. Gino and I are in a major pool where we won 6-0.
You wanted 6-0.
And I told him before that I was going to go 26-20. But I did that last year and it didn't work, so I'm not going to jinx it again this year.
I did it this year.
So you jinxed it this year. My fault. I talked you into it.
All right.
But, so we're kind of unanimous. Would you be stunned, by the way, if Philly wins?
I wouldn't be stunned, but I would be stunned if Philly winds up winning this game by 10. If Philly wins this game by 2 or more scores, I would be stunned. And, unless you're going to tell me there's a backdoor field goal or whatever. But, for me, I can't imagine that if Philly's going to win this game, I think it's going to wind up being close.
Okay. Kev, surprised if Philly wins it?
No.
I'm not either. I think they're two relatively even teams. I kind of agree with you on that, too. I do think the Chiefs find a way, but it's not like this is a lock by any stretch. Listen, when the Chiefs lost their Super Bowl with Mahomes, they had no tackles. With Tooney sliding out, they're formidable. It's not like you're facing Shaq on the outside, Shaq Barrett and stuff like that. I don't think Philly's got that pass rush to be dominant on the outside, more on the inside. If they double team, Watson, I think that they have a shot. So I'm going to take the Chiefs. And we'll get back to you guys Sunday night on Monday to tell you if we're right or not. G?
All right. So exotic bets.
Yep.
Let me give you a couple exotic bets to start this off, right? So obviously I got to give you the scoregami. If you bet the scoregami, it's 25 plus 2,500. So put $1 down. It's worth a shot if it happens. Do you like purple Gatorade? Because you can get plus 175 with purple Gatorade, Darren.
I don't want to be.
For whatever reason, the purple Gatorade is the favorite on the board of the colors. Not sure why. Maybe because they're in Louisiana. I'm not sure. Okay.
Not either.
Yes, that there is a flea flicker plus 230 if you like that bet. How do you like that?
If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be the Chiefs.
Okay. If you like the defense or special teams anytime score, you can have the Eagles at plus 550 or Kansas City at plus 600. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. You could throw a couple of bucks on that. That's not a bad bet. Super Bowl MVP. 3 obvious ones. Mahomes, Barkley, Hurts are all plus 350 or less. But Travis Kelce plus 1,500. And if you're thinking about the tight end stuff, and I already talked about Goddard, plus 12,000 on Goddard to be the MVP of the Super Bowl. Okay. All right. And here you go. My last of this, and this one you guys are going to get a kick out of. How about a race to 25?
Okay.
You can bet Kansas City plus 170 or Philadelphia plus 190 to be the first one to score 25. And if you think like me that they're going to score over 30, the race to 30, Kansas City plus 295, Philadelphia plus 320. Not a bad bet. Something that I was betting last year when we were doing some college basketball stuff. Just a couple of fun bets. So for the Super Bowl, we're basically giving each one of us a pretend $50. We're going to come up with a couple of bets and see who makes the most money out of the three of us in these bets.
Okay.
You guys ready?
Yep.
Sure.
All right. So who wants to start?
I'll do my first one.
Go ahead, Kev.
Give me a $20 parlay.
Okay.
I like Saquon over the 112 yards, which looked like it was minus 125 standalone. I like Hurts with an anytime touchdown, which, let's face it, with a touch push just seems like an obvious thing, and that's minus 115. And I think Xavier Worthy over 52.5. I see it about minus 118. So that gives me three prop bet there for plus 450.
Nice. That's a nice bet. I like that. Darren, give me one.
All right. I'm going to take $10 on Kareem Hunt to get over 70 yards. It's plus 387.
Plus 387 over how many yards?
70.
That's pretty good. I kind of like that. All right. I got I'm on this Goddard kick. You guys know this right now. Give me a $25 parlay on anytime touchdowns, Kelsey and Goddard. Plus 800. So a $25 bet would pay out $225. Kev, bet number 2.
I'm going to go another 25. 20, I mean. Give me, I don't think he's going to do much. I'm going to go Hurts under 212.
Okay. Passing.
And Kelsey over 60 or 60.5. That's plus 500 on that parlay. So $20 on that one.
Nice. I actually like that.
And I'm looking at BetMGM just as a reference for where I'm getting my odds from.
I'm on DraftKings, just so you guys
Larry,
know.
Who's your
I have an anytime touchdown to DeAndre Hopkins for plus 500. $10 on that. I think they dust DeAndre off and he finds an open spot.
Wow. Okay. I got a $10 parlay on the over of 48.5 and Barkley with 2 or more touchdowns. That's plus 405 for me. So that's my second one. And Kev, bet number 3.
So I've got $10. I'll do the Chiefs in the over. I'll keep it simple there. That pays plus 5.25.
Wow. Okay, Darren.
I have $20 on the Chiefs in the under, and that pays plus 360.
Wait, Chiefs in the under?
Yep.
Plus 360?
Yep.
So wait, so you got a $10.
Oh wait,
I have a fourth bet. So I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't know we were limited to 3. So I'm sorry. I got one more.
Right. That's right. So my third one is a $15 parlay with 3 items. It's a Kansas City money line. It's Hurts with more than 40 yards rushing, and Mahomes with more than 15 yards rushing. And that's plus 350 on my $15 parlay. Darren?
I was wrong on mine. It was plus 260. I had an extra bet in there.
Okay.
The Chiefs in the over is plus 260.
My last $10 bet is a 2-person parlay for anytime touchdown. I got Kareem Hunt plus 140 and Patrick Mahomes plus 310. So it's 10 would pay 105 plus 950 is the odds on that.
Wow. All right. So there's some Super Bowl bets. I'll keep track next show when we do the Super Bowl recap. I'll tell you which one of us actually made some money.
None of us.
One of us did.
Kevin will hit something somewhere. I know he will.
All right. So any other NFL stuff before we move on, guys?
I mean, listen, the Jets, everybody's filling in their stuff, but we'll get more into that as we get into the offseason. The Saints still don't have a coach, so there's a little bit of mystery there. But outside of that, I think we'll get more into that as the season goes.
Okay.
Or the offseason goes, I should say.
All right, we're going to move to the NBA. So NBA trade craziness has hit the last week. Trade deadline is tomorrow, so you still got another day. But, of course, we have to start with the biggest trade I think we've seen in a long time. Lakers acquire Luka Doncic, Max Kleber, Markieff Morris. Mavs get Anthony Davis, Max Christie. Lakers 29 first, and the Jazz jump in to basically acquire Jalen Hood and a second round from Dallas and a 25 and a second from the Lakers for 25. Kev, let's start with you.
Lakers always come up with the next guy, don't they?
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Well, they got Kobe, they got LeBron, now they got Luka. Before that, they got Kareem. None of these guys were drafted by the Lakers. You got Kareem. I mean, Magic they did draft, but the other ones, they weren't even drafted by them. They just find a way to get them.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. It really is.
For the Lakers, I mean, I don't see them. With the way the team was set up, I didn't see them competing for a championship. And let's face it, Davis is 32 years old. Starting to, I think, be on the downside of his career. If not now, then definitely within the next year or two. And they picked up Luka Doncic. I don't care what Dallas says about his lack of conditioning or anything that they're concerned about. This is freaking Luka Doncic. And
he's 26, Kev. And he's 26.
And he's 26 years old. You've got him right in his prime years here. And the fact that the Mavs didn't clean up with draft picks just blows my mind. If you're going to trade Doncic, offer him to the league. Somebody's going to give you 3, 4, 5 first-round picks.
Well, listen,
Mikal Bridges and whatever else.
Mikal Bridges over the summer.
Yeah,
it was four first-rounders, right? I mean, how do you not get multiple first-round picks? And by the way, these are Laker first-round picks. And they're
going to be late first anyway.
They're going to be late and it's 2029.
Not even a lock to be late first. They're going to be late mid. I don't think they're going to be picking 32. You're talking about 22, 23. I don't think it's that great. Here's the thing. I think in the very, very short term, I think Dallas could get 1, maybe 2 good years out of this trade. The problem is that, they didn't seem to want to sign Doncic to the max deal, which ends up costing Luka about $140 million because now he can't get that deal now.
What it was in the 130s,
130s, It was I rounded up, but
super max, 5 years?
Wow, it's such a joke with the super max and the max
million or something for 5 years.
I mean, it was, but he would have been 31 when it was over. But to them, they feel like he's not. They don't think he's going to be healthy in 5 years. Now, listen, if you want to blow a hole in Luka Doncic, it's simple. Watch the finals, okay? Watch Boston sit there and say, okay, whoever Luka's guarding is where we're going to go. And watch Luka not even give you the effort, right? If you want to blow a hole in them. But if you want to look at it in reality, he's one of the top 5 players in the NBA.
Without a doubt.
At worst, he's 5th. So, you acquired the 5th best player, the future of the team, because now, let's be honest, starting when he gets back in, maybe even next year, this becomes Luka's team, not LeBron's team. It becomes Luka's. I mean, that's amazing, right? I mean,
absolutely.
But that's where it becomes, because now you're building around Luka. But now your last 2-year draft picks, you went out and got Connect last year. Yeah, you got Reeves the year before that. They're all the same. You got everybody playing the same position, but that's the way the NBA has become now with positionless players, and I get that. But they're all just shooters. I don't know. I don't know if they have the toughness inside to make a real difference. Like you said, this year, I think this year Dallas probably ends up winning the deal because Davis is really playing well. Kyrie is playing well. You feel like maybe there's some sort of a mixed mesh to that for a team that made it to the finals last year and the year before didn't even make the playoffs. You don't know what to expect from Dallas, but I got to be honest, very surprised that the league did not that they didn't try to get the best offer that they could have. They just took the best, the first offer that they could get.
All right, listen, Kev brought it up. It's almost malpractice that the Mav ownership does not put this out to the league. Okay? With the way picks are being thrown around and second-round picks and pick swaps, you're going to tell me that the best you got was 1 pick?
I mean, we'll get to it in a second, but the Kings got 3 ones for De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah. It's just
Well,
it's
it's
unbelievable.
3-1s,
That
but
was
it's
a
not
different thing.
3-1s because the first one's going to turn into 2-2s because it's protected. But you're right though. On paper, they
On
could
paper, it's
theoretically get 3-1s.
yeah.
And it's still, but Darren, and it's still picks. It's still an asset on your side,
And
right?
they're
So
also
even if,
top of the second round picks at the very worst because you're talking about Charlotte.
but even if you then turn around and use them to acquire something else, it's assets that you're acquiring. Whereas here they got they got one asset in this deal. And we see all these other trades going through with 3 and 5 and 2 pick swaps, and I want your next 4 second round picks, and it's just it's ridiculous. It wound up being completely ridiculous, and I just can't believe that the Lakers were able to pull this off
The
again.
Lakers fleeced them.
Yeah.
I mean, long term, Lakers fleece them. They get the superstar. They got a guy for the next 10 years, theoretically, that's going to be a star of the league that's going to keep LA in the top 4 of the West, basically all the way through, or just about right there.
Okay. Kev mentioned the second trade. So, second trade, Spurs acquired De'Aaron Fox, Jordan McLaughlin. Kings acquire Zach LaVine. City Cisco, 3 first-round picks, which could be 2. We'll go into that. The Bulls get Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own first-round pick back from the Spurs.
Which is what they wanted. That's all
Yeah,
they really wanted. They
Yep.
wanted to get their pick back.
Listen, let's go into the big names. So the Spurs get De'Aaron Fox, Kings get Zach LaVine. Those are the 2 biggest names in this trade. Guys, Darren?
Well, I mean, listen, this is why people don't like the NBA. Because De'Aaron Fox says, I'm not going to sign with you and I want to play in San Antonio. So now the Kings have a gun to their head in the fact that if they hold on to him too long, they don't get anything because he's a free agent at the end of next season. So now we got to make a deal right now, even though we're fighting for a playoff spot. So what they end up doing is it's not a great deal for them. I mean, but at the same time, I think they got what they could. The Spurs now make Popovich look like the genius that he isn't, because he does nothing when he doesn't have the superstar. Freaking guy ruins the NBA, and somehow he still keeps his freaking job because he loses every freaking year when he doesn't have Duncan or he doesn't have one of these stars. The Kings, I mean, so they get Jordan McLaughlin as well. The Bulls get their pick back. That's all they really cared about. The 3 players were immaterial to them. They wanted to get their pick back so they could start building it up, and they wanted to get rid of Zach LaVine's contract. It's $46 million this year, $49 next, and then it's off the books. But they didn't want to have that $49 million saddling them. He's also getting older, having a strong year. Allows the Kings to be somewhat
year.
Absolutely allows the Kings to stay somewhat competitive this year. The Spurs will be able to. I mean, Fox wanted to go there. The Fox Wembayama combination, a third guy is going to want to play with them, and they also gave up none of their top 7. Sochan, the kid out of Baylor a couple years ago, has really become a really solid player. There's no superstars on that rest of that Spurs team, but they're a good, solid nucleus. And they didn't give up any of their top 7 in rotation for this trade. So it actually works out really well for them. The King, like I said, the Kings stay competitive. They already traded Sissoko. He's going to go for Valanciunas from Washington. So that'll be coming back. They get a couple of first-round picks, including next year's Charlotte first-round pick, which is lottery protected, which means they'll be in the lottery, so it'll turn into 2 2s. Yep. But again, it's 2 Charlotte 2s, so it's almost like the end of the first rounds. So, not to insult Charlotte, but the way it works, the Bulls save salary and they start rebuilding. Overall, I think the Spurs win the trade, but I can't really kill the Kings too much. They did stay competitive for the year, and they did get some future capital. Kev?
Okay. Kev?
No, that's scratching.
Okay. All right. Third trade that went down, Bucks trade Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, and a 28 pick swap. See, Kev, more pick swaps.
There's a
See,
pick
the
swap.
Wizard, they get Kyle Kuzma. They get
Patrick Baldwin Jr.
And 25 second-round pick. Any thoughts, guys?
I think that they got tired of Middleton. Kuzma's a little more efficient of an offensive player, though he's a very unpopular guy in the league, and he's never popular with his teammates or the other team. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. The Bucks are in that dogfight because, well, here's the thing. The Bucks and the Pacers in that 4-5 dogfight a little bit. You want to stay in the 4-5 because you don't want to play Boston, You want to play Cleveland. It's like that's where you want to be, and you want to win that first round series and give yourself a shot. And that's nothing to take away from Cleveland because Cleveland's really good. Just Boston's the defending champ. It's somewhat of an even trade. I thought. I didn't think it was one way or the other. I think Kuzma's probably a little better offensively right now.
Yeah, Kuzma's a little younger.
Yeah.
All right.
That gives him a little more upside maybe for the next couple of years. But yeah, it was a pretty even trade, I thought, for the most part.
Okay. And the last trade we'll talk about, which just happened about an hour ago, the Heat sending Jimmy Butler to Golden State for Wiggins, Schrader, Anderson, and a first-round pick. Darren?
And then Butler signs the 2-year, $121 million because the $50 million he was making was just not enough. So now he's up to 60. So that's good for him. I was worried about him financially. Another reason why you hate the NBA. This guy's refusing to play, getting paid $50 million. He gets to get traded to a team and get his 2-year extension. The NBA has the most unlikable stars in any sport you've ever seen in your life. They just are. I mean, I used to love Jimmy Butler. Now I think of him as a crybaby. The trade itself, Golden State wants to find a way to keep Steph relevant in the playoffs, and this is how it happens.
Yep.
You're gonna they probably ascend into a playoff spot with Jimmy Butler if he wants to play, which you would assume he does, because they have enough other pieces to compete. And that'll hurt one of the other teams in the West. For Miami, Butler's been suspended the whole month, basically, right? I mean, does he play?
Yeah.
So this is, they get a young player in Wiggins to buy into the system of Spoelstra and Riley, and that's what Miami's all about. It's all about team. It's all about we have a plan, and they're going to try to see if Wiggins can be a guy that fits into that plan better than Butler. He's not a better player, but at least he might try.
You get rid of a headache.
Yeah, absolutely.
First and foremost, Wiggins is about a decade younger than Butler as well. Miami's not going anywhere this year. You bring in a young guy and see what he can do.
I agree.
And if he buys in and, they can retool in a couple of other places going into next year, this is a team that's still got to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference because it's just not very strong down there in that, play-in territory. But that was their ceiling this year, even with Butler. So
I agree.
Just get anything was fine. And for the Warriors, they're banking on playoff Jimmy showing up. And if playoff Jimmy shows up,
Golden State.
That's a big move for Golden State. You still have Seth, and if he starts to get a few more maybe open looks with Butler there, taking some of the pressure off him, maybe they can make some noise in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Okay. So over the last couple of days, we just went through them. A lot of players changing teams. Okay. We got one more day to the deadline. Do we see the Knicks do anything, guys? What's your gut?
Well, here's the thing with the Knicks. Jericho Sims will go. All they're trying to do, all the Knicks are trying to do right now is get rid of a little bit of salary so that they can get into the next market. They can get into like the buyout market, so to speak, at the end of the year to get somebody on the roster that helps for the playoffs. Because for them they have the salary cap's too high. So you would have to trade OG, or you would have to trade Bridges, or you would have to trade Hart, and you have to trade Towns. You're not trading Brunson, right? I mean, and I don't see them really trying to break up the nucleus. I think that they might try to find a little piece here or there, but you can't. Everyone's talking about Durant to the Knicks. You know what I have to give up to get Durant? You have to give up Hart. You'd have to give up OG. You'd have to give up probably Achua. And you'd say, okay, you three guys plus a number one or so to go over there, and then you have nothing. Then the team already lacks depth, and you couldn't do that. So it's not going to be the way it works out. I can't see it. Kev, I don't know if you see something different than I do.
I see the same way. I think their biggest trade deadline acquisition type is going to be Robinson coming back.
Yeah, it's pretty much it.
2 weeks, hopefully.
And the thing with Robinson is that he becomes the guy that he's the wild card for next year because he has the expiring contract. So he could be a guy that gets moved, but probably not until people know he's healthy. Sorry, Kevin. Let me cut you off.
So for the rest of the season, if he can come in and God, Phipps, you got to make sure you play him 20 minutes a night.
Yep.
Let him come in, get a couple of garbage baskets, protect the rim a little bit, grab a couple of rebounds. That's all you want from Robinson. Give him that 18 to 20 minutes. which is going to be a lot better production than what you're getting from Jericho Sims as a big man down there. And, make sure you use your bench a little bit.
I agree with you. They have to start doing it. It can't just be McBride and nobody else.
Yep.
I think somebody else is coming in here. I don't think it's a big name. I think it's a small name. I think it's another big guy like Robinson, just as protection. But I agree with you guys. I don't think there's any big move coming their way. They're too cap heavy right now, specifically with those top five, and they'd have to deal one of them to be able to do it, which makes no sense at that point. So.
Like Darren says, it's gonna be attaching a draft pick to one of the second round pick to guys like Jericho Sims to try to free up that little bit of cap room they need to bring in a guy on a veteran minimum who wants to try to win a championship.
Yeah, just get somebody in the buyout market at the end. That's really all it comes down to.
All right. Any other NBA before we move on, guys?
No, I mean, listen, one point, actually. I don't know if anyone saw the Nets Rockets last night. It was a shade of Reggie Miller. Nets are down 4. Come down, hit a 3 with about 7 seconds left. Houston throws it away. Nets steal it, kick it out. Russell hits a 3. He had a horrible shooting night, buries the 3. And even with that, the way the NBA works, you call timeout, you get the ball in the front court. Houston had a great shot with Jalen Green, didn't hit it. And the Nets win 2 from Houston, who's the number 2 team in the West. They won 2 from them, and they've won 3 in a row, and they're in a dogfight against a Washington team that has nobody playing. So I don't know how that's happening, but they beat Houston twice. So just the way it goes in the NBA.
Yep.
All right. Couple of baseball points. So Tigers signed Jack Flaherty, 2 years, $35 million. Yankees signed Carlos Carrasco to a minor league deal. Kev, I know you're familiar with him.
Wow.
They also re-signed and brought back Tim Hill. Cubs, they acquired Ryan Brashear from the Dodgers, and Baltimore signed Ramon Laureano for a little outfield depth.
You got to love the Dodgers with so much depth that they could just give away Brashear. That's basically what they did. They basically said that we're not going to hold him, and his ERA over the last 4 years is something incredible.
Yep.
And he's our 18th best reliever at this point. I think
it was unbelievable that they gave
here we need a little salary cap relief here.
The other baseball news that came out is Faye Vincent died Sunday at the age of 86. He followed Bart Giamatti as commissioner from 89 to 92. He was a commissioner during the San Francisco Earthquake World Series.
Yeah.
He oversaw the 90 Major League Baseball lockout. And who followed him but Bud Selig? Any thoughts on Faye Vincent, guys?
I think Faye was going to try to get Pete back in, and unfortunately, Pete just wouldn't own up to some stuff, and all he had to do was sign a piece of paper. He would have been back in. Faye tried to give Pete the opportunity, and obviously the '89 World Series with the Earthquake was probably the biggest thing that you remember during his tenure.
Yeah.
A lot of the commissioners come off as very negative. I mean, he was over the strike, that, but even still, never felt like you didn't hate him like you hated Bud Selig from time to time. You just you're okay with Faye Vincent, I thought.
Yep. He's better than what's his name now?
Oh yeah,
am I drawing a blank on Manfred.
Rob Manfred. Oh god.
I'll take Faye Vincent dead now over Rob Manfred.
Well, you don't like the Ghost Runner anyway.
Okay, let's head to college basketball. A couple of points. It's February 5th, Darren. We are entering the magic month of February. Super Bowl is only 3 or 4 days away at this point. Once the Super Bowl's over, all 3 of our heads will be thinking about college basketball for a little while. Talk to me about a couple of college basketball points.
Yeah, I'm going to give you my quick 6-pack of what happened in the last week, and that's it. Next week, we're going to delve really deep into it a little bit, so let's give you what we got. First and foremost, Duke flat out crushed North Carolina on Saturday. Flat out crushed him. The game's final was a 17-point disparity. It was never that close. Hubert Davis made a Final Four in his first year. He might miss the tournament 2 out of 4 years. I think Hubert's gone if they don't make it. I think he's going to have a hard time getting in. That team just doesn't seem to have enough offensive talent, Kev. my take on it right now.
This is freaking North Carolina.
Yeah, there's something wrong here.
How are they even close to missing the tournament?
And by the way, tonight they actually blew out Syracuse, another team that's not very good.
No,
But Duke blew them out by like 30 tonight.
in the Carrier Dome. Not that Syracuse is good, but they blew them out.
Yeah.
Point number 2 of the six-pack. Coach Cal returned to Rupp. And you know what? It was pretty cool. They all said he wasn't going to come out till like right before the tip-off. He went out 15, 20 minutes early, took the booze on, shook hands with a lot of people. And his team, 3 of the guys that came over with him, they went out there and won that game. And they actually pretty well controlled it from midway through the first half all the way out. Place was electric. It was really cool to watch. Arkansas hadn't had a good road win all year, hadn't had a real good conference season at all. And point number 2 was Arkansas went into Rupp and knocked them off.
I think to go in there, get there early, get the booze out of the way. You know they're coming, and just get rid of that negative energy, and and I think the crowd quieted down after that, and I think that affected things.
I agree with you. Point number 3, and this is just one that stands out to me. St. Mary's beats Gonzaga. No court storming. They expect to win. They have a 3-game lead over Gonzaga right now. San Francisco actually a half game ahead of Gonzaga in the standings going into this week. Everybody talks about Mark Few, and deservedly so. Not a shot at Mark Few. Randy Bennett and the job this guy does year in and year out at St. Mary's is beyond what anybody can fathom. This is a school that does not get a tenth of the recognition at Gonzaga, and every year this team is fighting in the tournament. They get in. And they've had some years where they've gotten into the Sweet 16. So I just love the fact that they don't even storm the court anymore. They expect to win the game against Gonzaga. I love that, by the way.
Yeah,
just a good West Coast Conference matchup. Number 4, Bobby Hurley is still Bobby Hurley, and he's a prick. No handshake in the line against Arizona in the heated matchup against their rival at home. Would not shake hands with Lloyd, would not let his players line up, called them off the court after they lost. I know there was a little bit of push and shoving, a couple of double ejections in this game, but the simple fact of the matter is that Bobby and Danny Hurley are 2 of the biggest scumbags that coach in the college ranks. There's nothing to like about it. Unless they're coaching your team, there's no way you like either one of these 2 guys. I can only imagine what the father's like, who we've heard heralded for all these years, because the 2 sons act like a couple of babies. I don't know if you guys have any different feeling on it, but that's what I thought.
You're 1,000% right. I couldn't believe when I was reading about that stuff out there in Arizona this weekend. And we all know Hurley up in UConn is just, God, every call that goes against UConn, he's crying.
But he came out two weeks ago with I'm the best coach in the country. You can't call – shut up. You're not the best coach in the country. You have great talent. Number 5, just the amount of upsets that have happened over the past week that were just pretty amazing. I mean, there are a lot of ranked teams lost, and some of them you understand. Number 5, Florida goes into Tennessee, number 8, and they get blown out by 20. But earlier in the year, they won by 30. Interesting on this game, though, interesting thing was Ziegler and Millich just didn't play. They only played 7 scholarship plays, still blew them out. Ole Miss loses at home to Auburn. Okay, Auburn's number 1. You take it. They bounced back, and beat Kentucky last night, by the way. Louisville beating at Georgia Tech. Didn't expect that one. Then Georgia Tech comes back and wins at Clemson this week. Georgia Tech's under 500. To get these 2 wins is kind of impressive. Kansas blows the biggest lead of the Bill Self era, up 21 at Baylor. Lose by double digits, lose by 11. Yeah. Michigan State finds out how tough it is to play in Southern California, which you wouldn't think. They get swept by USC, and then UCLA beat them last night. Texas Tech gets the worst ejection you've ever seen from coach and player. Their best player, Topping, gets ejected for no reason, in my opinion. It was foul. He shouldn't have been ejected. And they still find a way to win on the road at Houston, number 6 team in the country, in overtime. Great game, 82-81. Marquette gets beaten at home by UConn and then loses at St. John's. I'm going to get to them. That's 0.6 in a minute. Oregon loses at home to Nebraska. Then they get beat tonight at Michigan. They've lost 4 in a row. They were a lock. Now their net is fallen near 40 now. I mean, that was basically it. I mean, those are the upsets that we saw, but a lot of teams losing to unranked squads. So it was a very wild weekend. And then my 6th point is the St. John's Red Storm, 20-3. Team can't hit a foul shot. They can't shoot a 3. But you know what they can do? They defend like animals. They rebound like crazed dogs, and they have a 72-year-old coach that I think his press conference, he said something to the effect of, I want to kill myself when they start shooting, but they play so hard I can't get too mad. And they have no depth, they have no shooter, but this is the biggest week in St. John's basketball since 1999, guys. And this is the highest ranking they've been, in over 25 years now. And they just beat Marquette last night. They have to go to UConn on Friday night. They held on against Providence the other day in a game they led by 19, but then they couldn't shoot straight. They go through these droughts, but Red Storm basketball is back. They're selling out the Garden every freaking night. And that's what Patino's talking about. He goes, this is the home court. It's the Garden. We want to rock it like when Louis was here. And I love the fact that he pays tribute to Louis.
Absolutely.
That is, to me, the coolest thing that's going on right now in our area. We haven't had a good St. John's team to celebrate. Now we do. It should be pretty cool. I don't know if you guys have any points on the Johnnies.
Not at this point. I
think you covered them real well.
And then the one last point, women's college basketball, Caitlin Clark's jersey goes up into the rafters against USC, and they pull off a nice upset.
Yeah.
But good props to Juju, who stayed on the court after losing a tough game and had a tough shooting night to celebrate Caitlin Clark's jersey being held up. Just a class. Her family was there. She was there. They stayed out there. Just a classy moment from her. I thought it was a great touch. So just
her and a bunch of her other teammates were out there after the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I thought it was a really, really classy moment for the two of them. So that's my college basketball take. A lot of big games this week, just so you guys know. Tonight, Tennessee did hold off Missouri. They were down 11 in the second half, came back to win. Michigan beat Oregon, like I said earlier. We talked about St. John's, UConn. This weekend, Oregon at Michigan State. Oregon has to win a game or they're going to fall off. Texas A&M goes to Missouri, who's really good. Florida at Auburn might be the game of the weekend. Duke at Clemson. That's probably the biggest spot that Duke has to get tripped up. And Texas Tech at Arizona, another big one. Texas Tech's playing great ball right now. So those are the things to watch. College hoops. Back to you, G.
All right, so we're going to move over to the NHL. They have passed the halfway mark of the season. There's about 1 week to the All-Star Game weekend, which is now called the Four Nations Face-Off this year.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
U.S., Canada, Sweden, and Finland are the teams. They have 2 practice days for the teams, and then they'll play 7 games in 8 days. And then, so these games will be played in the Bell Center in Montreal and TD Garden in Boston. This is what the All-Star Game has come down to at this point. Darren?
Listen, I'm fine with the 4 countries they have, but how do you do this without Russia?
Yeah.
This is professional now. We're not talking about the Olympics. We're not talking about amateurs and wars against humanity. How do you not have a Russian contingent? It's like you're leaving so many superstar players out of this thing, which doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, listen, you could make this an 8-team tournament and put Latvia in there and Germany. You could do a lot of stuff like that. I think that this is a cool concept because the teams do play for pride when they're playing for their nation. I do like that. I always have enjoyed that, but it's Canada kicks off Canada Sweden on 2/12 and on 2/13 the U.S. and Finland. So the first week is all in Montreal. The second week is in Boston, and that's where the final is. Listen, we'll see what it is. The All-Star games all suck all over. The NFL had one the other day. We didn't even talk about it. So there you go.
I mean, did you see the way they're lollygagging around the field, to use I mean, that's the best way of describing it.
Absolutely.
It is. It's nobody cares. Listen,
you're
nobody
down to
cares.
Football, come on.
But now, if a good player gets hurt in this tournament here, we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. So we have Washington in the East with over 70 points. In the West, we have Edmonton and Winnipeg over 70 points at this point in the season. We got 4 teams less than 50 points, and those are Buffalo in the East and San Jose, Chicago, and Nashville in the West. Between all those are the 3 local teams: New Jersey with 66 points, Islanders with 57 points, Rangers after tonight with 56 points. They actually beat Boston tonight 3-2. Top stories in the NHL at this point. So Jonathan Quick's 400th career win. He's the first U.S. goaltender to do that. NHL Players Association joined the AFL-CIO. Another big thing. We won't get into that. Alex Ovechkin's pursuit of the all-time goal record is a big one right now. He is 17 shy of the record. He's got 877. Gretzky's 894. He's got 24 goals in 36 games so far. He is on pace to break the record. We'll see how that progresses as we get closer. And the other thing has been a couple of trades that have happened. JT Miller going to the Rangers, Mikko Rantanen going to the Carolina Hurricane. Before we get into the locals, any overall NHL points from you guys? Kev?
It's amazing when I was looking through, preparing for this, and lack of scoring overall. I mean, here we are. We're 55 games most of the way, and you've got such a few number of guys who are over a point a game.
Yeah.
You only have 5 30-goal scorers.
Yeah.
That's it. 2 of them on Winnipeg.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. Unfortunately, as much as, the three of us do enjoy hockey, Paulie, I know you enjoy it. Listen to us there. It's such a great game to watch, especially in person. But boy, when you've got everything else going on, it just gets tough to keep up with them. And I think that's the one. This is the one sport that just gets pushed aside.
I agree with you, Kevin. Until playoff hockey happens, this is exactly what happens.
It's such a playoff sport,
and it feels like if your team is in the playoffs, it is a crazy playoff, and you're going crazy. And if your team isn't in the playoffs, it's kind of ho-hum. You'll still watch it. You'll still enjoy it, but it's kind of ho-hum. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, you can still have an exciting April if your team's fighting for a playoff spot, so you're hanging on everything. That's really it, though. And I'm not trying to shoot it down because I'll watch any hockey game usually over an NBA game. I'm just that way. It's got I don't usually like the star players in the NBA, and I do root for the star players in hockey, so it's a little bit of a different feel. But yeah, right now also the Devils have been fine. The Islanders and Rangers are playing better, but they haven't been fine all year, which also takes a little sting out of it. If the Islanders were playing like Winnipeg was playing or Washington was playing, you guys would have a different feel about it than we have right now. It'd be must-watch TV and try to get the games. So there's a little bit of a different feel. But yeah, overall, everything you're saying is 100% true. Not a lot of great scoring. I mean, you got goalies making, 92, 93% of saves right now. You got a lot of sick things going on.
Yeah. And then, between, I think this year, especially with us, college football
was bigger for us than usual.
Was huge, was much bigger than usual. I mean, early on, I know a lot of it still, maybe you just get that first week or two of the season, but boy, between the Mets and Yankees making deep postseason runs, you're paying attention to that. You come off that, you look around and you realize, oh, you've got college football and you're gearing up into conference championship games and CFPs. And you sit around here and it's February 5th and everybody's played over 50 games already.
Yep.
And it's like, where'd the season go?
Yeah, no, listen, I agree with you, Kev. I completely agree. Where do you want to start? You want to start with the Islanders or start with the Islanders?
Go ahead, Kev. You got the logo behind you.
All right. Somehow, some way, this team has crawled back within 3 points of the playoffs, entering tonight's action. You sit here on January 2nd through 39 games. This team was 14, 18, and 7 and going nowhere. Since then, they were 11-3. What happened? Well, Sorokin's rediscovered his form. Since January 2nd, or including January 2nd, the last month plus, Sorokin's got a 1.7 goals against average, 942 save percentage in that time frame. So all of a sudden, the Islanders don't have to score much if Sorokin's only giving up a goal or two a game. The injuries right now, I mean, this is a tough stretch right here. Barzal, Marcus Hogberg, who was our third string goalie, who was playing because our second string, Varlamov, both of them are on IL or IR. Pulak, Dobson, Riley on the back end. and somehow, some way, this team is battling for the playoff spot. Um, this is Barzell's second time now in the IR. He's only played 30 games. He's got 20 points. Very disappointing season for him. Pelix only played 33 games so far. Duclair's only played 24. And that leaves you with, leading scorers. Horvat with 40 points. Lee with 39. Palmieri 34. Nelson 33. And, it's I don't know how to feel about the Islanders making this push, because there's part of me that says these are four guys that are 29 and older. Part of me was looking forward to seeing about trading some of them, even for a third or fourth round pick. Because
did we have this conversation last year, Kev?
That's what I was going to say. I mean,
you have to go all the way down. Holmstrom, fifth leading scorer on the team, is the first guy that's under 25. He's 23 years old. This team is an old team. Kudos for them to turn around their season. But I think it's still a dogfight to make the playoffs.
My only point on the Islanders, and you kind of touched on it, G, just now. This is the Isles DNA. They always look a bit overmatched. They never seem like they have as much skill. They're just workmanlike. Even their leading scorer, Anders Lee, is just a guy that, you feel like he's a top six everywhere, but he's just like this physical guy that's going to get you deflections and get hit all night. And, Brock Nelson, though he's skilled, and I'm not trying to say he's not, he's a workmanlike kind of player. Horvat's a skilled guy. Horvat's skilled. He's the one guy.
One skilled guy. Yep.
He's the one guy with Barzell, but when Barzell's injured like he's been, and he's never really gotten his form back from those back-to-back years where they made it to the losing to Tampa, in the conference final. The defense is always solid, and when Sorokin's on, it's good. But the problem with the Islanders is this is their ceiling. You don't feel like they're a team that can advance very far, because you feel like they can get in, you feel like they can get around. They can even Soroka can even steal 2 rounds for you, but you don't feel like this is a team that can win a cup. That's the only problem. I hate to say it like that, because I'd like to see them move forward, but like you said, Kev, they got to get younger. They just got to find a way to get younger. They finally move on from Matt Martin. Casey Cizikas has the worst plus minus on the team right now. It's you got to do a little something different. By the way, the Mets re-signed Pete Alonso, for anyone that's interested. 2 years, $54 million with a $10 million signing bonus. Just came across my phone. So the Mets fans can celebrate a little bit that they have this.
Good news. That is some good news. Let me tell you.
Let me find that. I have to text my daughter.
Okay.
I'll go to the Rangers while you text your daughter. One of the most disappointing teams in the NHL has been the New York Rangers, right? Started with the Igor contract, and some really disappointing seasons from Kreider. Zibanejad's minus 25. Lafreniere minus 14. Kreider minus 8. Keandre Miller's an enigma at best. Adam Fox is too slow to deal with any good speed top lines out there. And Igor's just been average for Igor, and they need a little bit more from Shesterkin than they're getting. They bring in JT Miller last week. Probably the most complete player on this team right now. He started as a Ranger, played his first 5 years here. Quick became the first goalie to get to the 400 wins. Nice story. The thing about this team is that the best players so far this year have probably been Will Cooley, who's been good, and Braden Schneider's been good, and they've been better lately. But the problem is they have a ton of talent, and they're just not living up to it. Kreider's been a healthy scratch in games. There's a lot of things. They have the coach and Laviolette. They have everything that you want, but they haven't been able to put it together. Yet with all that being said and how bad that they've played, they're 3 points out of a playoff spot or 4 points out of a playoff spot right now. They beat a very, very good Boston team tonight who's been red hot lately. It's going to be a dogfight for the 7 and 8 spots, and probably 6, 7, and 8 spots in that East. I expect fully that the Rangers and Islanders will both be part of it. And the Devils, I think, will maintain being part of that too. This team's too talented to play like this. It's been really disappointing so far. They just need a little help on defense. They just don't. That front top pairing is just not fast enough. And Keandre Miller just makes too many mistakes in his own zone. And if you have any points on the Rangers, knock them in. Otherwise, go right to the Devils, boys.
Like I said, shocking that they've played this poorly. I said it before last year started with Laviolette joining them. I thought for sure that this was going to be a contender for several years. With the high-end talent they have on this team. Some of these guys maybe just getting a little, Zibanejad's not quite as good as he used to be. Maybe the middle of the trade sparked something in his team, but my goodness, there's too much talent in this team to not make a push here. And if they get into the playoffs, it's I don't see why this team couldn't make a run.
They certainly have the talent to do so.
I think that's exactly what it is.
Gee, give us the Devils.
All right.
Gee.
I will move over to the New Jersey Devils. All right. Devils, 30-19 with 6 losses. They are third in the Metropolitan Division, 5 points ahead of the wild card with 66 points. After a great November and a good December, they've struggled in January, had a 4-game losing streak, struggled in overtime games, but they concluded the month with a victory against the Flyers. They faced challenges with injuries in January. Notably, Captain Nico Hischier, upper body, he's week to week. He could be back any point. And starting goaltender Jacob Markstrom out 4 to 6 weeks. He was excellent. When he went down, he had a record of 21-9 with a 2-2 goals against. So he's been outstanding. But despite these setbacks, they've had great contributions from Jack Hughes with 61 points and Jesper Bratt with 59. They've delivered very strong performances. And Dougie Hamilton on defense is having a great season. He's got 8 goals, 27 assists already. Backup goaltender Jake Allen has stepped up in Markstrom's absence already. He's with a 5-1 victory against the Bruins. Overall, he's 8-10 for the year with a 2.6 goals against. So he's having a pretty good year despite only being called upon. But right now, they're going to need him to really step up with Markstrom down for a good period of time here. As the season progresses, Devils are going to aim to maintain this playoff push. They need to improve some consistency. They need to get good goaltending from Allen now that Markstrom's down. But as long as they can maintain this and get Markstrom back with some time before the playoffs, I think this team could be a Stanley Cup contender at this point. They're playing very well. Darren.
Yeah, I mean, this team is fast and explosive. So if you want to watch fast-paced, moving the puck hockey, if you don't want to watch the Islanders, you want to watch the Devils. It depends on what style you like. And I'm not trying to be funny with that. It's just completely different style. With Hughes and Hischier and Brett and Timo Meyer and Nason, these guys are all they're up and down the ice. They're so quick. Even Dougie Hamilton, with his advanced age, still moves the puck really well. Luke Hughes is a nice young defenseman. The Markstrom injury definitely hurts, and they'll need him back. He's one of the top 5 goalies in the league statistically this year. But, wow, this team is – if you really want to watch a team that can skate up and down the ice quickly, this is it. This is it's faster than the Rangers and much faster than the Islanders. And that's pretty much what I would say about the Devils. I hope that they're able to hang on for a playoff spot because they're a fun team to watch. You like to see them in a 7-game series or a 5-game series and something cool.
Okay.
I mean, let's face it. They'd have to really fall apart here to not make the playoffs.
I would think so.
I mean, they're sitting here in 3rd place in the Metropolitan Division, 7 points clear of Columbus.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
The top three keeps them in there. So I really don't think they're in much trouble.
Yep, I agree.
And I tell you, you match it up right now. That first round matchup could potentially be against Carolina. That would be a hell of a series to watch. You want to watch playoff hockey? That would be a great series to watch.
Yeah, it would be a good series to watch.
It would be physical and it would be fast. It would be pretty cool to watch.
All right. Well, we've done a little NHL here. Before we sign off, let's just talk quick, being that it just happened. So Alonso is 2 years, $54 million with a $10 million signing bonus. Kev, Peter's back, the polar bear.
Thrilled.
Mets needed him in the lineup. I don't think there was any doubt about it. He's an extra important bat. Just a couple of quick things in hockey, though, before we go away. I'm sorry, G.
Yeah.
Just the beast of the East, just to talk about Washington. Logan Thompson, who I didn't expect. I thought Lindgren was going to be the number 1 on this team. Logan Thompson's 23-2-4. Ovechkin leads this team in goals despite missing, about 15 games?
About 15 or 20 games, yep.
Oh, my God. Protas, Wilson, McMichael, all doing great. Toronto, always good in the regular season. Will they ever win a playoff series? Will they ever really advance in the playoffs? They do everything they're supposed to do in the regular season. The other top contenders in the East, no surprise, right? Carolina, Florida, Tampa right there. The big surprise right now has been Ottawa to me. They've been playing really well. Not only
Really
anybody
good. Yep.
expected them to kind of jump up, and Detroit after the coaching change to McClellan, they've been really good. So I mean, that's kind of really where the East sits. Kev, any thoughts?
You've got them and Tampa Bay still lurking. I
Oh,
mean,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah.
Kucherov is still a terrific player. He's 77 points, is third in the league. Points sitting there with 28 goals. He's sixth in the league in goals. I mean, they've got the offensive weaponry there. And they're just a couple points behind Ottawa right now. They could very easily get into that third. And really, Florida, the Atlantic Division, Florida is in first. They've only got 67 points. They're another team. You've got Reinhardt, who's having a terrific year, but he's most of their offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's the only guy that's got, I think, over 20 on that team. Is it that?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
I mean, Toronto, you do have more guys. You've got Marner, you've got Tavares, you've got Nylander, who can all put the puck in the net. So they've got a little bit more firepower, but it's Maple Leafs. We know they always, like you said,
They
Darren,
show.
they do well, and then they always fall apart in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Then you go to the other side, the West. Winnipeg got off to this quick start, and they maintained it, right? And Connor Hellebuck has been outstanding as always. Already has 33 wins, 33-7-2. The signing of Gabriel Velarde or the acquisition of Gabriel Velarde has been really huge for them. But they also have with 22 goals, but they also have Scheifele and Connor who have 31 and 30 goals. So they're doing everything right. And they got Nino Niederreiter, does everything that he's a guy you love on your team and you hate when he's against you and that type of thing. And they have Morrissey and Pionk anchoring the defense. The thing about Winnipeg is Hellebuck does this every year too with great stats, and in the playoffs he hasn't been able to carry his team through a playoff series. So we're going to need to see if he's able to do that, right? That's kind of the big question mark with them, in my opinion, Kev.
Yeah, with the weapons they have up front there, like you said, with Connor and Scheifele, they got to outscore some teams until Hellebuck shows they can do this in the playoffs. Like I said, the 15-1, but now they've also got a 7-game winning streak they're on currently. So they've been really good all year.
No, absolutely,
and they've got a 10-point lead over Dallas for second place.
And Dallas is having a good year. And so you have the Stars and the former Stars all doing well, but the Dallas and the Wild is the next two teams, in the Central, and then the Pacific. You got Edmonton and Vegas pacing the Pacific, so they're doing real well. Islanders beat Vegas earlier this week.
Yeah.
Then you see a little resurgence from the Avalanche because they got off really slow, but they've started to play well. And LA has been really solid all year. So the Pacific has been really, really good out there. And my Calgary Flames right now hold the 8th spot. We made a nice trade this week. When you look, we'll see what happens. The disappointment West has been, St. Louis and Nashville are the teams that really haven't shown up out there that you expected a little bit more from. But right now, if you would look at the top of the West, and you would have Winnipeg, Dallas, Minnesota, and Edmonton, and nobody in the East Coast is staying up late to watch anybody except McDavid. And that's the problem right now. They need the Lanch to make a run. They need LA to be a factor. These are great hockey teams, and it sounds like I'm shooting them down. But the fact of the matter is that no one's staying up for that huge, 10:30 playoff start between Winnipeg and Minnesota.
Yeah.
They need to get a little bit more out of some of these other teams to make a playoff run because Calgary's not helping you either. You need the Lanch. You need a fast-paced, fun-moving team like the Lanch in Edmonton and Vegas to kind of make it a little bit more interesting, in my opinion.
Well, it's going to be interesting with Colorado because, they've got McKinnon 80 points to lead the league.
He's 60 assists.
Blackwood, since making the trade, 2.04 goals against average in 20 games since they picked him up. But then they traded away Rantanen. I don't know.
It's a tough team to read.
They're going to be in a dogfight for that last playoff spot. With, like I said, LA, Calgary, Vancouver, Colorado. There's probably those four for three spots.
No, absolutely. I feel the same way. The other thing, just to touch on real quick, Ottinger also having a great year like Hellebuck. Guy that you don't talk about a ton, but Darcy Kemper is having a monster year with LA. He's got a 2.16 goals against, third in the league. Darcy Kemper is always around, and you always say, he's good, and everybody was just trying to find somebody better, so they try to replace him every year. The guy puts up stats, and he's got LA, humming right now with the 75-year-old Reed Doughty controlling the blue line. I mean, they got it all going in LA.
And then Edmonton, like you mentioned, Draisaitl, second in the league, 79 points, leads the league with 37 goals.
Yep.
McDavid's got 70 points, 28 years old, and he's ready well over 1,000 points. He crossed it this year. He's got 1,050.
He's the best player in the sport by far.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hate him, but he's good,
And then that's all my hockey points.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much that's it. I mean, just to touch on where we are at this point in the season. Listen, all three locals are in position, and that's all we want right now. So let's see what happens. Gee, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know you were in baseball. Sorry about that.
No. I just went back to Alonzo. That's all. We're good.
All right.
On it again. That's all.
And do you guys have anything else before we wrap up?
No, I'm good.
Polar Bear's back. Woohoo!
Listen, the Mets have completed their lineup, and we'll get much more into it. But suddenly now you feel much better about where this team is offensively. You made the move for Soto. If you were going to sit there and haggle with Alonso, it didn't make sense to make the move for Soto. And now suddenly the lineup looks complete. So congrats to the Met fans out there.
Yep.
Anything else, boys, before we wrap up?
No.
That's it. We are the Sports Kings from Queens. I'm Darren here with Kevin here and Gino talking about the wonderful, wild, and wacky world of sports. A wacky world of sports where a team like the Nets, who has traded everybody away, can score 6 points in 4 seconds and upset the number 2 seed in the West. And if you're a superstar in the NBA, you can get traded anytime you want. Just make your demands because you are bigger than the team and bigger than the sport. Please download the podcast anywhere you get a podcast, whether it be an Apple product, Spotify, tune in, whatever you like. We're posting a lot on social media. Please join the conversation. Tell us who you like. We're going to be asking you who you want to win the Super Bowl. Don't just like us, and make a pick like we're going to do. And without any further ado, may your sports be with you.